It's 2 a.m. Everyone else is asleep, but you're not. You're not watching anything. You're not doing anything. You're just thinking. Replaying a conversation from 3 days ago. Rehearsing an argument that hasn't happened yet. Running through 17 different versions of a decision you already made. And here's the part nobody talks about. You don't want to be doing this. You would give anything to just stop.
But how do we actually stop?
You can't. Today, we're going to tell you exactly why. And what we found, backed by neuroscience and behavioral psychology, might be the most important thing you learn about yourself this year. Because what's happening inside your head isn't a flaw, it's a trap. And the trap was built a long time ago. Section 1. The mystery. First, let's establish something. If you're a chronic overthinker, you already know the standard advice. Just stop overthinking. Live in the moment. Let it go. You've heard all of it, and none of it has worked. Because none of it answers the actual question. Why specifically does your brain do this? Not other people's brains. Yours. Here's what the research actually shows. Psychologists at Yale University studied chronic overthinkers for over a decade. What they found wasn't what anyone expected. The overthinkers in their study weren't anxious people. They weren't weak people. They weren't broken people. They were, on average, among the most intelligent, most empathetic, and most ambitious people in every group they studied. Think about that for a second. The very thing that makes you think too much is the same thing that makes you exceptional. But here's where it gets complicated. Because that same intelligence, that same depth of thinking has a shadow side. And if you've never understood what that shadow side actually is at a neurological level, then you've been trying to fix the wrong problem your entire life. We'll get there, but first you need to understand where this started. Section 2. The origin story. Overthinking doesn't begin in adulthood. It doesn't begin in your first stressful job or your first difficult relationship. It begins in childhood. Specifically, it begins the first time your environment taught you that being unprepared had consequences. Maybe you grew up in a home where things were unpredictable, where you never quite knew what mood someone would be in, where the wrong word, the wrong tone, the wrong expression could change everything. So your brain did what brains are designed to do. It adapted. It started scanning constantly for threats, for signals, for patterns. It started running scenarios, preparing for every possible outcome so that nothing could catch you off guard. At 7 years old, that was a survival skill. It kept you safe. It helped you navigate a world that felt uncertain and dangerous. And your brain learned, thinking ahead equals protection. Thinking ahead equals control. Thinking ahead equals safety. The problem? You're not 7 anymore. But your brain never got that memo. That neural pathway scan, predict, prepare, worry was carved so deep, so early, that it became your brain's default operating mode. Neuroscientists call this a conditioned hypervigilance response. Your brain isn't overthinking because something is wrong with you. Your brain is overthinking because it learned in the most critical years of its development that stopping was dangerous. And here's the part that should concern you. Every time you engage with that spiral, every time you follow a worry to its conclusion, replay a conversation, rehearse a confrontation, you are strengthening that pathway. You are literally training your brain to do this more, not less. The more you do it, the more automatic it becomes. Which means if you've been an overthinker for years, your brain has spent years becoming better at it. Section 3. The neurological twist. Now, here's where the science gets genuinely surprising. Most people assume that overthinking is a thinking problem, that if you just thought more clearly, more rationally, more logically, you'd be able to think your way out of it. Wrong. Overthinking is not a thinking problem. It's a feeling problem, wearing a thinking mask. Here's what's actually happening inside your brain when you spiral. The prefrontal cortex, the rational, logical part of your brain, is not the engine driving your overthinking. The amygdala is. The amygdala is your brain's threat detection system. It's ancient, primitive. It doesn't understand logic, time, or probability. It understands one thing: danger. And when it fires, which in overthinkers it fires constantly, it hijacks the prefrontal cortex. It takes your intelligence, your analytical power, your razor-sharp mind, and uses it as a weapon against you. This is why smart people are often the worst overthinkers. The smarter you are, the more ammunition the amygdala has, more possible scenarios to generate, more detailed catastrophes to imagine, more sophisticated arguments for why everything might go wrong. Your intelligence isn't solving the anxiety, it's feeding it. And there's one more layer to this that almost nobody talks about. Researchers at UC Berkeley discovered something in 2019 that reframed everything we thought we knew about chronic overthinkers. They found that people who overthink don't just think more, they feel more. Their emotional responses to both positive and negative events are significantly more intense than average. They notice more, they absorb more, they process more. Which means the overthinker sitting awake at 2 a.m. isn't just anxious. They are experiencing the world at a frequency that most people around them never reach, and nobody ever told them that. Section 4. The cost. But here's what that costs. Because feeling everything more deeply, processing everything more intensely is not free. The research on chronic overthinkers shows a consistent pattern of hidden damage that accumulates quietly over years. 1. Decision paralysis. Overthinkers generate so many possible outcomes for every choice that making even small decisions becomes exhausting. What to eat, what to say, whether to send the message. Each decision carries the full weight of every scenario their brain has constructed around it. Over time, they stop deciding at all. They wait, they defer, they let life happen to them rather than risk getting it wrong. 2. Chronic emotional exhaustion. Running thousands of mental simulations a day consumes enormous cognitive energy. Overthinkers are often tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix, because the mind never actually rests. Even in the rare moments of peace, there is a background hum, a constant low-level scan for what might go wrong next. 3. Relationship erosion. Overthinkers analyze every interaction, every text, every tone of voice, every facial expression. They find meanings that weren't intended. They rehearse conversations so thoroughly that when they have them, they feel scripted, distant, disconnected. And the people around them who don't think this way slowly begin to feel like they can never say the right thing. 4. And this is the one that matters most. The untreated overthinker eventually begins to confuse their thoughts with reality. The scenario in their head, the imagined rejection, the anticipated failure, the constructed catastrophe, starts to feel as real as something that actually happened. Their nervous system responds to imagined threats with the same intensity as real ones. Cortisol spikes, heart rate elevates. The body prepares for a danger that exists only in the mind. They are living two lives simultaneously, the life in front of them and the life inside their head. And the life inside their head is louder.
Section 5. The answer and relief.
So what do you actually do with this? Not the generic advice, the real answer. The first thing you need to understand is this. You cannot think your way out of overthinking. Every time you try to reason with the spiral, analyze the anxiety, logic your way through the loop, you are feeding the exact system that created the problem. You are giving the amygdala more material to work with. What you can do, what the neuroscience actually supports, is interrupt the physiological state before the thought spiral gains momentum. Here's what that looks like in practice. The moment you notice the spiral beginning, not after it's fully formed, but the moment you notice the first pull of it, your job is not to engage with the content of the thought. Your job is to change the state of your body. Because the amygdala responds to the body, not to logic. A slow exhale longer than the inhale activates the parasympathetic nervous system directly. It sends a signal to the amygdala that the threat has passed. Not because you argued with the thought, but because your body stopped performing emergency. The second shift is harder, but it's the one that changes everything long term. You need to separate the identity of overthinker from the behavior of overthinking. Most people who think too much have integrated it into who they are. I'm just an anxious person. I've always been like this. It's just how my brain works. And every time you say that, you are reinforcing the neural pathway. You are telling your brain, this is permanent. This is us. The research on neuroplasticity is unambiguous. The brain can rewire. The pathway that was carved by years of hypervigilance can be redirected by years of intentional pattern interruption. It is not fast. It is not easy, but it is possible. Because the same brain that learned to scan for danger can learn to scan for something else. The overthinker's brain is not broken. It is extraordinarily powerful. It sees what others miss. It feels what others don't register. It prepares for what others ignore. The question, the only question, is whether you are directing that power or whether it is directing you. If you recognized yourself in this video, you are not alone, and you are not broken. You are someone whose brain was shaped by experiences that demanded constant vigilance. That is not a character flaw. That is an adaptation. But adaptations can be updated. The mind that built the spiral is the same mind that can dismantle it. If this video made you think, drop a comment below. Tell me, what does your overthinking sound like at 2 a.m.? I read every single one. And if you want to go deeper into the psychology behind why ambitious people think, stall, and self-destruct, subscribe to Inner Spark. Because next week, we're going somewhere darker. The people who destroy their own success right at the moment they're closest to winning. We'll see you there.